Hey Eagle Nation, Whitney Haworth here with Clay Helton, head coach of the Georgia Southern football team, 2025 J-Lab Birmingham Bowl champions. Coach, how does that sound?
Oh my goodness, so proud for our football team. You know, when you have a group of men that have, a lot of them had been to 4 straight bowls, had accomplished, something that had not been done at our university, but we needed to win a postseason game. And, to be able to play against your arch rival in App State and have the opportunity to compete with them twice in a year and come away victorious both times is special. It was special for our fan base. It was special for those seniors. And you could see it was neat being in that locker room at the end and seeing that brotherhood come together one last time. You always want to win your last game, your last opportunity. But to see the smiles on the faces of those kids that had played so hard all year, it makes it special for you as a head coach.
You talk about that locker room. How's your back feeling? For those that don't know, you thought it was smart to stand on a folding chair to celebrate.
Yeah, you saved me. You saved me. I tell you what, I proved that my athleticism's going a little bit further away with each and every year, but thank goodness I have good people taking care of me.
After that, you immediately basically head into the transfer portal, a new window. Yeah. But tell me, those first few days after the bowl game, what were those days like for you and for your staff?
It was crazy. I have been doing it over 30 years, and probably I've never experienced anything to that extreme. When you're having conversations and you're talking about the future, especially you're coming off a bowl game that was on December 29th and a portal's open on January 2nd. Our guys had really committed to that game. We had said, hey, we're putting everything aside. It's about that moment and that game, and I was so proud of our kids because you didn't see one kid opt out. You didn't see one kid say, hey, I'm going to the portal. All those discussions were had from the 29th, as soon as that game was over, to the 2nd. We were able to visit with the young men that were making decisions. And, it was a different year for us because you got 25 guys that were seniors. But you also, anytime a team has success, the byproduct is individual success too. And we have had good players, and a lot of kids had decisions to make. And I think about, how much talent was on that team, and to be able to keep like a Josh Dallas and a River Helms, MJ Stroud, a Keba Seka, Eli Anders, and others, a Brandon Tyson. It's special to keep those, but we did. We faced probably our first attrition that we've had since we've been here, and so had to replace, basically 44 bodies within this class, and ended up, I thought, creating a nice balance between. But it was the 2nd through the 16th. You're dealing with the transfer portal window opening and closing, and then the whole month of January with kids coming in and seeing your program and seeing what you're about, and diving into do they want to make this their home? And thank goodness we didn't bat 100%, but we batted really, really well in the month of January, and I think created a really special team.
How important was it to have those phone calls with those returners and have them say, Coach, I'm still bought in, I want to be a Georgia Southern Eagle?
Yeah, I felt like I had Miss Angela tell you, it felt like the phone was duct taped to my head for about 5 days straight. But it was really honest conversations, and it just reminded me how important trust and relationships are in football. Because, if you don't have the trust of a young man, or you don't have the relationship, when you're telling them something that's what you feel is brutal honesty and the truth, they know you're coming from a good place, that you're coming from the best interest for them. And there's some situations that there's some opportunities that a young man couldn't turn down. And then there were some that, hey, this was the best situation, whether it was because of their degree, whether it was because of their role, their opportunity, their ability to produce a great resume to get to the next level. And so each individual has their own story. And you have to take the time. I've always thought the greatest gift you can give somebody is your time. You have to take the time to sit down with them and be able to figure it out for them and what's best for them.
And part of the transfer portal, before we dive into that class, a lot of what helped those guys get here was your new staff. You kept a handful of coaches, but you also brought in some new ones, including Mike Moots, new defensive coordinator. You promoted Darius Safford. Tell me kind of the rundown of coaching staff now.
Yeah, what great chemistry, especially when you're making a change on defense and you're bringing in new coaches. To be able to keep a Darius Safford in place that has unbelievable relationships with not only our defensive kids but our whole team, and to make him the assistant head coach, watch what he did with his first opportunity, to call plays in the bowl game, and what a magical job he did on that day with that group of men, and so to be able to keep that trust and relationship we had with Darius, and then bring in Mike Moots, who obviously you look at the numbers and the production that he's had at Stephen F. Austin. It was the absolute perfect chemistry because they had worked together too. Mike and Darius have worked together also, and so I couldn't picture a better situation to be able to bring on Mike, to have Darius, and then bring on a couple additional coaches that were with Mike at Stephen F. and Kevon Beckwith, Andrew Newport, Jack Whitty, who had worked with Mike before, as well as a really talented young coach, safeties coach in Prather Hudson. So really excited about this defensive group coaching staff that is coming in.
All right. Tell me about this transfer class. How did you fill the gaps that you needed to fill?
Well, I think the need that really hit home to me, Whitney, was the skill group offensively. When we were walking off that field at Birmingham, I literally saw Cam's face, Marcus Sanders' face, and Dalen Cobb's face, Amon Green, O.J. Arnold. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of production that's being left. And, it's something that I knew that we were going to have to replace that production. I think we've made a huge line of focus there initially. And you look at the wide receivers that we signed. You look at, the running back group that we were able to keep together, having a Terrence Gibbs here, a David Mbadinga, a Jamarian Samuel. We got a taste of Teo Todd and Bryce Baker last year. You bring in these new additions to that wide out receiver room and that running back room are really strong. I thought the two retentions I talked about, Josh Dallas and River Helms, to have them back and now have them healthy, I think is going to be a huge piece of the puzzle too. So offensively, I thought that was huge. Defensively, it was the edge players, especially in Mike's system, I think are really invaluable. So we made a strong point to be able to keep a Kebaseka and a Eli Anders, an Uche, MJ Stroud, one of the 7 all-conference players that actually returned to the Sun Belt. To be able to retain those guys were important, but then you add Anthony Bynum and you add Festus Davies, and so his 42 sacks is the number just rings in my head from Mike's year last year. They were the number 1 tackle for loss team, and those edge players were so important. So to build those 2 edges were invaluable to us in this class.
You talk about seeing some of those players walk off the field in Birmingham. You talked about the celebration in the locker room. You've been in this business a long time. How do you handle the emotions yourself, the good and the bad, the highs and the lows, knowing that these guys are walking off the field for the last time?
Yeah, it's a celebration, just in the style that they did it. My dad's always taught me that this is a game of honor and a game of brotherhood. And to watch that group say we're all in, and that's not what happens in the real world nowadays. To say not one man's going in the portal, not one man's opting out. That we're all here in this moment together, and we're going to finish what we start. Been in education for over 30 years, and that's our job as coaches. I said that at the media day press conference for the bowl game. Our job as educator and coaches is to teach young men and women to finish what they start. And our guys started a season and they finished it down to the last play. And I'm so proud of them for that. And as a coach, you have those emotions that you're celebrating, and then you have to immediately turn the page. You have to garner a new staff. You have to garner new players. And with any business or any team, you have to understand that you're going to lose 25 to 30% each year of that team. And you can't assume that everybody knows your standard, that everybody knows your expectation. You have to reteach your culture, and so that's what we're doing right now. It's it's the end of January and all through February for 6 weeks. We teach our culture and what shared suffering looks like, what brotherhood looks like, what 6 a.m. mat drills look like, and then you install your systems. Come March and April and spring ball. So we've assembled a great group of people. Now we've got to train our culture and we got to train our system. So we've got a huge job ahead of us.
When you just hit on it, turning the page, winter workouts are in progress already. What excites you about this spring, and what have you seen from them at the winter workouts thus far?
Yeah, being out there even this morning in the rain drizzling down, it's about 40-something degrees, and we're doing mat drills out in the rain and pulsing. You're establishing that toughness that comes with the game, the physical and mental toughness that you have to have, and then the accountability that you have to have and the discipline you have to have to each other. And then, that unitedness of being a brotherhood, and it's all of us, it's all of us together and leaving no man behind. Those are things that you're either trained in or untrained, and we believe in training our guys. And so these 6 weeks are about us before we even do one football play. That's what this 6 weeks is about.
Well, Coach, one chapter has ended, but the next one has already begun. Excited to see where this story takes us.
Thank you, Whitney. Appreciate you. Hail Southern.